The last one's standing or sitting, either way. So in this final session, we're going to have 2 more international senior design groups in Panama, as well as our workshop drillers. So with that, we'll take it back to Panama.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, thanks for sticking around. Like she mentioned, we're another international senior design group, and our project has to do with clean water for our community, which is Quebrada, Caracol. I'm Sarah Stoolmiller.
I'm Michael Cherng.
And I'm Rademacher.
And we're going to tell you all about our project and what we did in Panama. So just to go over what we're going to go over, we're going to start off with some background information on our community. We'll go through the data collection activities that we did the week that we were in our community. We'll talk a little bit about what our design project is going to be, and then we'll talk about the experiences that we had while we were there. So just to start off with some background on our community, we were in Quebrada, Caracol, which is in the Nave Comarca, which is essentially a reservation for native Panamanians. And the red circle is about the location of our community. So we were in the same community as the bridge team that you heard from earlier. So like they said, we took about a 5 or 6 hour bus trip, got in a taxi for about 20 minutes, and then hiked up the mountain about 2 hours. This here is a walking map that our Peace Corps volunteer, Lee Miller, created before we got there. So we had this information before we arrived to our community. The times stated in between the homes and other large locations within the community are walking times. So as you can see, homes are a bit spaced out within our community. There's about 233 residents living in the community with another 100 outside of the community. Those 100 living outside the community are usually men and older sons, and they leave the community to find work. The majority of people living in the community are young children and women because most of the men are gone. And the average daily wage of our members, they make about $8 a day, doing anything from farming work to being a security guard in Panama City, really anything they can find. So we focused on sanitation and health, and this is a huge issue in our community. There's no electricity, there's very little running water, and what water there is, it's not treated, it's not clean, anything like that. So up here in the top, the graph, is the amount of time and how much water each person collects. So the most anybody collects in a given day is about 4 gallons of water, and some people walk a couple of minutes to water, some people have to walk almost 20 minutes to water. So there is an access issue within our community. This photo on the bottom is the outsource to the current distribution system that is in the community. It's the only servicing outsource currently, and as you can see, there's no tap, it just constantly flows. So the storage tank is not in use, it just flows right through all day long. This photo up here is a pipe that collects water from a nearby stream. This is where we collected our drinking water while we were there for a week, and what we did is, for ourselves, we filtered it with a bandana into a 5-gallon bucket and then treated it with bleach. And bleach is it's cheap enough for people to buy. It's only about 55 cents for a small bottle, which can last a very long time. So it is feasible for these community members to afford it and to clean their water, but it's not practiced very often at all. And that's one of the goals that our Peace Corps volunteers have been trying to work with the community in treating their water. And now Nick's going to go over some of the stuff that we collected while we were in Panama.
Our Peace Corps volunteer provided us with 3 design objectives. The first was to evaluate the existing infrastructure of the gravity distribution system. The second was to perform a water quality analysis to see what contaminants are in the drinking water. And the third was to protect the watershed, and that entailed delineating the watershed and locating contamination sources. This is our current or the existing distribution system. Top left picture is the spring box, which is used to collect water from the spring source. The middle picture is the PVC distribution line, which runs down the mountainside. As you can see in the picture, it hangs out trees, and it is protected very well. And the top right picture is the storage tank, which is located about 100 meters downhill of the spring box. After the storage tank, it passes through a chlorination system, which doesn't provide adequate time or contact time before the water reaches the outsource, which is pictured in the bottom right. And that is the only outsource that is currently in service. So we evaluated the infrastructure this detail take multiple measurements and some flow readings. Two pictures on the left are the spring box, and the picture on the right is a detailed drawing that we came up with when we got back this semester. We developed drawings for all of the components of our distribution system, since we have a mechanical engineer in our group. And we also identified sources of contamination. The storage tank and the spring box both have poorly fit lids that allow for environmental filtration, same as the overflow and the clean out. Those are lacking any sort of screening, and there are damaged pipes which were repaired with garbage bags. And then the picture in the far right is it's hard to see, but the runoff is in the top right corner, and it
kind of flows down this way.
flows down and over the spring box, which is a significant risk because directly uphill of that is another spring which is used by a cattle farmer. It's on his land, so that's where he brings his cattle, and it's a big source of fecal contamination. And we also delineated the watershed. This entailed using a handheld GPS to walk the perimeter of the watershed, which was identified by locating different ridge lines and breaks in the topography. The spring, which is labeled the Toma, is situated towards the bottom, and just those waypoints give you a rough idea of what our micro watershed looks like. We also performed a water quality analysis. This was done at the spring box and of the runoff. The left pictures are us taking samples from the spring box, and then the middle picture are the results of the runoff, which was highly contaminated. Both sources had more contamination than we would have liked to have seen. And the picture on the right is just us sitting there counting how many bacteria colonies there were in each of the samples. And the three major sources of bacteria we were looking for were Yersinia, Salmonella, and Shigella. And Shigella is the leading cause of diarrhea in the world, and Salmonella is linked to typhoid fever. And here's a overview of our community, or an aerial photo. The blue picture in the top, or the area, is the watershed, and the four yellow points that are probably pretty hard to see are the houses that we intend to service with our distribution system. And now Michael's going to talk to you about our design project.
To address the runoff that's infiltrating our spring box, we propose that there be a trench dug so that the runoff is rerouted further away from the spring box, so that the fecal contamination is causing less damage to our spring box. We also proposed new lid designs for both the spring box and the storage tank, along with number 24 wire mesh to screen the overflow and the ventilation pipes. Also, to our right, we have a EPA net model of our water distribution system, including the three extensions that we intend to make to the current one, because as it is, it only supplies one house, but it is capable of supplying more. And also, sorry. We also plan to implement a new chlorination apparatus and install it upstream of the storage tank, so that it'll have more time to chlorinate as opposed to the recent one. And Sarah will discuss our experiences.
So this is where we camped for the week while we were in our community. The structure behind is the church, and the members of our community are Seventh-day Adventists. So they have church every Wednesday night and every Saturday morning for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Over there is our latrine that we got to use, which while we were there, we were the only ones to use it, so it's not widely practiced latrine use within the community. This is our Peace Corps Volunteers host family. That's Lee up in the right-hand corner. And so one of the nights, as the bridge team mentioned, we got to cook dinner with them, and that was probably one of the best nights that we had. One of our biggest struggles was definitely the language barrier, as I know a lot of people talked about today also. And so this was a great night for us because we got to sit around with the family and sit around with Lee so she could translate for us, and we had really in-depth conversations, and it was a great experience and a great opportunity to really get to know them. And it was kind of unfortunate that it was one of our last nights, but it was a really great experience. So on Saturday night while we were there, the church decided to throw us kind of a celebration and a party. And since they're Seventh-day Adventists, they don't drink alcohol, they don't drink caffeine, and they don't dance. So it was essentially just a big open mic night. So as the bridge team mentioned before, we sang a song for them because they requested us put on a performance. And they did ask for something from our culture, so that's why we sang the national anthem. It was a little awkward, but they loved it. And and then over here, they asked us to teach them a game from our culture. So we have about 50 people in this giant circle. It was hard to capture it all in one photo because it was about 10 p.m. and it was pitch black out. But we taught them Duck Duck Goose, which we called Baka Baka Caballo, which is cow cow horse. And so that was a lot of fun. It was scary when we started and our Peace Corps volunteer had a rock and face planted, but then we turned some lamps on and but that was a lot of fun. And I know, additionally, it was very interesting because this party was all night long. So it started about 6 or 7 p.m. and went until about 6:30 a.m. because I woke up to the music on. But I think we all stayed up until about 11 o'clock. Most of us stayed up until about 11 o'clock that night, which was about 3 or 4 hours later than we had been going to bed the rest of the week. Usually about the second it got dark, we'd all climb into our tents, and that was about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So that was a late night for us, staying up till about 11, playing Duck Duck Goose. This is a kind of our lunch host family, I guess you could call it. We had to hike a bit of ways up the mountain to get to our spring box every day to do our work. And so we had a family up there who let us sit in their house and eat our lunch every day. So they asked us if we could take some family photos for them because they don't often get to have photos of their children taken. So it was just really kind of awesome that they asked us to do that, and they were so happy and so excited, and the kids were not at all. As you can kind of tell in their photos. Their mom and aunt were trying to get them to smile, and they just would not because they just were not having it. But that was a great experience too. So in conclusion, we talked a little bit about our community, what we did while we were there, things we collected. We did a lot of water quality analysis and the delineation of our watershed. Our distribution system is going to be the bigger letter of our project. We went over what our project's going to be and our experiences. And upcoming, we'll compile all of our findings into a final report so that we can send it back to Lee, our Peace Corps volunteer, so that she can hopefully start implementing some of these things. So I'd like to thank you all for coming, and we are open to any questions you may have.
What were the lamps like? Were they
Oh, well, we had flashlights and headlamps. Yeah, they have a generator that they can rent. So like for the party, they went and got the generator from the town and rented it and brought it in. I don't know who brought it in and who carried it up the mountain, but so there were some lights in the church, and then there were they had a big old stereo plugged in just for that one night. Yeah.
when you were doing the water quality tests for salmonella and other things? Was that a Petri kind of thing that you were called?
Yep.
Grow
Yeah, it was a count plate, a 3M count plate. And so we did those the first day we got there because they are supposed to be refrigerated. So we had them in our backpacks to do, and the first day we were there, we took them. So we actually took more than what we just showed you. We showed you the plate of the Enterobacteriaceae, which is the salmonella, the Yersinia, and the Shigella all on one plate. But we also did counts for total coliforms and E. coli.
with the same dish, or you had them?
No, they're separate
separate
one.
one.
Yeah, separate plates.
Well, if there are no further questions,